Yo guys, welcome to the video. This is Milky, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Arcana season preview for Torchlight Infinite. Now, once every 3 months we all gather around and we watch as Andre tells us what's going to be good, what's changing, and how they've completely revamped the game in this season of Torchlight. But this one seems to be a little bit different. They seem to have held true to a lot of the things that they implemented last season, whether for good or for bad in some cases. But there are some really cool changes with this season. A cool new hero, obviously a new kind of gameplay system. A lot of, from what I noticed from the reveal, a lot of nice little pieces of fine-tuning on things that have been annoying me for a while. And then some also ways to get legendary pets, as well as a way to augment your pets. We'll get to that bit in a second. So we're going to go over all the things that are going to be talked about. Let's find this page right here. We have the new season, new content, balance, gameplay, quality of life, and events and monetization. So I'm not going to play this video out. If you want to watch this video, I'll put it in the description. I'm not going to play it all out because it's 40 minutes and I'd rather just talk about each thing individually. Let's start with the Arcana gameplay. It looks really cool. At least in some way. Some of it looks a bit scary. Basically, you're going to run over these cards once you're in your Netherrealm stages, and they are going to spawn an encounter. You see this one is the Devil encounter. Now, the reason I point that out specifically is learning what these encounters are and what they do is probably going to be quite important as you watch this one. Basically, you're going to spawn a load of mobs, you're going to defeat them, and then boom, they're going to fire out all these projectiles. Now, God knows how much damage these things do, but that looks pretty scary, all these on-death effects. So yeah, you're probably going to want to know what your cards are doing and how to approach each individual encounter. So maybe a bit of a learning curve, at least initially, for the season. But yeah, I mean, more events in maps, always fun. Now, it also doesn't seem to have much of a delay, which is nice, right? There are not, most of the time when they put things into maps, if you think of things like City, you've had to like load screen into City, load screen out, wait for the circle, stand, like all the annoying stuff, right? This is just, you just run to the card, it does its thing, and then it spawns mobs, you do the encounter, and you get the rewards. Cool. Now, you don't get many rewards from this by the looks of it, but that isn't the most important thing about how we're going to get rewards from this mechanic. This essentially leads us to a board game, which we'll go over to here. What you're going to do after you complete these encounters, you're going to get something called a note, and that note is going to be used for you to travel through this board. If you start on square number 1 here, you have cards that are going to allow you to move, denoted by the dice, I assume. We have 2, 5, 6, so you could jump forward that many squares. I don't know if you have to land specifically on a square to claim one of the things on it. I assume you do. So you're going to want to use these in a way that allow you to kind of grab the rewards. If you just have to go past them, then it's easy. But this guy seems to already be past these, so I assume he didn't actually get them. So yeah, how you use your cards is obviously going to be strategic, and there are like traps on some of them and stuff like that. But as you also collect the other notes that are going to allow you to travel further into the board, you can level up the rewards that you get. So you're going to be able to really strategically grab all the rewards and level them up as much as possible. At least that is obviously the design, that is the idea. Let's hope it plays out that way. I think one of the things about Frozen Canvas I enjoyed was that strategic element of building the board, getting as many level 7s as possible. But it does, if you add too much of a layer of complexity to the actual execution of the strategy, some people do feel a bit left behind. And we did see that a little bit with Frozen Canvas, with people unable to get too many level 6s, level 7s. So we'll see how that goes. It does look cool though. I'm excited to try it. I love, figuring out these new strategic kind of gameplays and figuring out the best way to do it to get the most rewards. It's always fun and satisfying to do so. And it does come with a bit of content at the end, which I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to be excited about. And need I say more than simply show you that. So let's move on. We have destinies. Destinies are essentially like jewels, but you put them into your pact plan. So I'm going to start this section by saying you now get to use 3 drop pets and 3 battle pets. Now, for people that already play the game, you're probably rejoicing as you now get to double dip on how many pets you have. If you haven't played the game yet, you now need more pets to get started, which is, in some ways a good thing, in some ways, well, for the people that already play the game, good thing. For people that haven't played the game yet, bad thing. However, you do get a way to farm for things that make your pets better if you don't have good pets. So you're going to be able to farm for these, they're called destinies, right? You put them over the slot and you get to give the slot a certain effect. That could be something like strength, in, dex, res, life, yes, or some more complex ones or more interesting ones on the like legendary nodes that come at the end, or the rare nodes In the middle, you're going to get things called Kismats, and Kismats are the legendary versions that, if you have them, you're going to get much stronger effects. And there are some called dual Kismats, where you have to socket two, and once you do that, you're going to get an even more powerful effect. So obviously these are going to be farmable, which is cool. It's a way to farm out, a way to make your pets better. But if you're getting started, you still, legendary pets are going to have more of these slots to have more of these Kismats in, I assume. We'll have to see how this works. Obviously, if the game's balanced around having, all this stuff, it gets a bit weird. But I'm going to take it at face value and say that this is obviously good for people that already have pets and an opportunity for you to make them even stronger. But legendary pets still remain incredibly strong. Now, outside of that, we of course have a new hero, as comes with every season. This will be on the Battle Pass. We have the next Iris. Now, something I love in most games is shapeshifter classes. I just like the fantasy. My favorite class in Lost Ark was Shadowhunter, and so I like these shapeshifters. And despite it being a minion build, I think this looks really, really cool. You basically get to shapeshift into one of your spirit mages, and you can choose any of the 5 now available. There are 2 new ones, being Earth and Erosion, or Rock and Erosion. So you're going to be spoiled for choice on which one you choose to go for. People arguing and figuring out which one's going to be best is going to be nice and interesting, as always. But yeah, this is something that I really like in these games, and I'm glad they're experimenting with this. I think it's a very, very cool idea. You don't need to make every class a shapeshifter, but having them in the game, I think, is really cool. So I'm quite excited to potentially try this one. Maybe not this season, as you'll see later why that is. But we'll have a look. Now we have the Rock Spirit, which is kind of like, you've got like this whirlwind and this leap. You can leap on things. We have, some people are looking at this and thinking what is going on the screen. Other people are looking at this and thinking, hell yeah, I want all that big purple goop on my screen. So if you're the latter, then the Erosion Spirit might be for you. Now let's go on to the next section, Legendary Gear Enhancements. As I said, they didn't really throw away everything they'd done previously for this season. This is something we're so used to, right? Where they just take everything they've done and flip it on its head. This season, not so much. They've just taken some of the lesser utilized legendaries and buffed them or changed them in some cases. Sage's Insight now afflicts a minus resistance penalty. Evil Heart Armor gives additional ailment damage and Vile. Trauma, getting some love. Trauma is an archetype that hasn't really seen much play outside of a very few bespoke builds. I'm thinking Self-Trauma Rosa a couple of seasons ago. But actual, like, trauma builds, they haven't really seen much play. I'm thinking ever, if I'm being honest. I think some people have experimented and have different levels of success, but maybe these items can bring them to fruition. Because, the more cool builds, the better. Now, the final thing is that the Imperial Might Legendary Belt 07, it has been removed from the game as they do not feel it lives up to the title of an Ultimate Legendary Gear. So they've removed that for now, and they've added the Lone Walker's Boots in its place. Now, these, you'll know if you've played the game, already existed, but they've been elevated to Ultimate Legendary tier, and hopefully that means that they are a global drop, so they'll be more affluent, and hopefully it means that they are a global drop, so they'll be more present. You might have a better chance of getting your hands on them. Also, they'll come from the fluorescent memory cards that allow you to turn in for an ultimate piece of legendary gear. Now, I say all this, but remember, Eternity is normally like 20, it was 20k last season. So even though this does mean there are going to be more Lone Walkers about, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be cheap. But here's hoping, because they did get a little buff as well. Now, exclusive supports, again, adding on to systems rather than changing everything. I love it. They've added more exclusive supports for more skills. We have Shadow Swamp, getting Stillwater, which if you like Righteous Fire in a certain Path of Exile, you're going to like this one. It's purple Righteous Fire. You run around and your Shadow Swamp comes with you. You don't have to use Shadow Shot in order to move it. It will now just follow you around, which is pretty cool. I don't know if it's a toggle or it has a duration. Didn't really show that. I don't know. If it is just a toggle, then cool. If it's a duration, then obviously scaling its duration is going to be good, because that also scales the damage if you're going for Dot Reap as well. So very cool. We also got some like burning shot stuff where you'll create these like fire terrors that are you're gonna be able to do damage with. Avalanche, bombard. I'm interested to see how this works with Bing, because Bing obviously already has projectile size scaling, so maybe very cool on Bing. Who knows? Yeah, and then Arrow, Einhoyar being the final one, they can now follow you around. You don't have to stop and place, stop and place, stop and place. They can now just be attached to your character. and run around with you. Very, very cool. Now, who knows how good this is going to work if you're absolutely zooming. Obviously, this character's just running around now. Imagine you're blinking around at the speed of light. Interested to see that. Balance changes. Everyone's favorite. Balance changes. Did my hero get buffed? And well, for me, the answer is yes. I love playing Rayhan. You guys probably all know that. Rayhan got some nice buffs, and these are very good buffs in my opinion. I don't they add power for sure, but that's not why I say they're a good buff. They're a good buff because it shows an understanding of what made Rayhan weak. And last season, the content was balanced around a hit cap of 500 billion and a piece of content that requires you to do north of 10 trillion in order to kill it. For the mathematicians among you, that will mean that means you need to hit 20 times per second. And doing so on Rayhan with a skill that is reliant entirely on the cooldown reduction trait is quite difficult to do. So, implementing a way for you to gain cooldown reduction that is exclusive to Rayhan and doesn't, infringe on their ability to balance cooldown as a whole, very nice solution. Now, this particular one, Rampaging, does replace the ability to add support gems to burst, so you are going to lose about half of your damage, and you're going to lose some AoE. That AoE is made up for on the other choice on the final track for your hero traits, where you're going to get burst AoE, I think it's 200%, and your damage will also scale with the amount of AoE up to 90% additional damage, which is really cool. Obviously, this may be a situation of mapping versus bossing. Also, they changed one of the traits up here, which makes it so the only way you lose rage during Berserk is when you burst. So you basically get a fixed number of bursts during your rage, which is really, really cool. Also, you gain rage over time, so if you're not permanently bursting, you're not permanently in combat, you can actually just sustain being berserk, which is very nice, especially for early on. Maybe later on, you still probably go with the crit one, because you're going to be able to permanently sustain, even with the final node with the trigger rate. But yeah, the ability to sustain rage early on is really nice. So this, to me, just is exactly what they should have done last season. This is such a good way, a good understanding of how Rayhan works. And I'm really happy about this. I'm just sad they didn't do it last season, because this shows that they know the character, they know how it works. Maybe they just didn't get enough time last season, but yeah. I mean, I have to give them credit where it's due. Thumbs up for this. Who knows how it's actually going to play out on a numerical sense, but just the understanding of the character and what makes it work and what's good for it and how it feels to play. This is awesome, and I'm happy that they did it. And the same thing can be said for Seething. One of Seething's identity is the seething spirit on your back that's, bashing enemies, and last season it was quite difficult to get him to sustain because you just couldn't gain enough rage because this was capped. Now the interval's been lowered substantially, and you're going to actually be able to sustain that rage, which means you can have your spirit up, and also with the final trait you can also now be doing damage yourself after you've been disarmed for a certain amount of time. Yeah, really cool. Again, just good understanding of the hero. In my opinion, obviously, I don't want to seem too bold to think that I understand what they're going for with these heroes, but in terms of how I see them and how they feel to play, really, really good changes. Happy about that. Charge calling, I unfortunately don't have a very complex understanding of charge calling, if any understanding at all, as this was always done by Zen. So you'll have to ask him if this one's any good. For me, it's got the middle thumbs up. I have no idea. I do apologize if you like charge calling. Maybe one of you guys can tell me if there are any Moto geniuses in the chat. All right, let's go down to what we have here, which is the damage cap. So this was kind of touched on when I was speaking about Rayhan then, right? There are some archetypes in this game that hit slowly, but hit for a lot. But there was a cap on the amount of damage you could deal per hit. Now, they have raised this, but in the past, the skills that could hit quickly also did the hit cap. So, like, I'm not sure that we're not going to see skills do 1.5 Q 30 times per second still. We're probably still going to see that. Like, I think they need to find a way to make hit cap unique to things that actually hit slowly. Like, but that's more of a balancing, right? Maybe you understand what I'm saying here. Like, if there is a hit cap, it should be difficult to achieve, and it should probably be those builds that don't necessarily hit as frequently, but they hit hard. And I think that's just a fine-tuning thing. This isn't in any way a complaint. I do hope they find that balance at some point, though, because then this becomes less of an issue. But I do think this is a great change to implement, that they've raised the hit cap. Of course, I imagine this means they raise the dummy cap. Excuse me, I am sorry. Now, Steep Strike Chance is something that was quite ambiguous in the past. essentially, if you had 1% steep strike chance, 100% steep strike chance, you would hit, you would gain a steep strike, and then you would steep strike. So hit, steep, hit, steep. 200% would be hit, steep, steep, hit, steep, steep, so on. Now, it seems, to my interpretation, that 100% steep strike chance means all you do is steep, 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 steep. This could not be true. I don't think it's outright said. It could still be hit, steep, hit, steep, hit, steep. But I assume it's always steep. Now, this is a very, very, very powerful mechanic, and one that was locked behind a two-handed sword corrosion last season that was incredibly expensive if you wanted to engage with it. I expect to see steep strikes be very good this season. Steep strikes are really cool skills, first of all. Their steep strikes effects are normally really, really fun to play with, especially if we go to this new one. Let's see if I can find it. Exclusive supports. We talk about Moonstrike. Watch this. That is a steep strike on the new Moonstrike support. So you can So I think I've probably found maybe my second build being Moonstrike. Now, co-op city defense. There are 3 ways in the Arcana season for you to gain a legendary pact spirit, 2 of which are going to be battle pact spirits. One of them is going to be a drop pet. The drop pet is acquired through the same means as last season. You will have to defeat wave 20 of the Supreme Showdown. And for the battle pets, you will get 1 for logging in for 7 days at the start of the season, and you will get the other for completing the co-op city defense with a friend. No idea on the difficulty in this. I imagine we may be seeing people do carries. That's probably going to be something people do this season. They're going to carry you through. If you can solo it, that is, right? If you can solo it, then I imagine we're going to see carries being done. But yeah, more ways to get rewards, more ways to get bound FEs and embers and stuff. Only good. And obviously you get your pet, which is cool. Now, snow coloring, frozen canvas, all that stuff. If you liked this last season, I think you're in for a great season, because everyone is going to want these new supports or the old supports from last season. But this time, not everyone is going to be doing frozen canvas. So if you're someone that loved this mechanic, it's been reintroduced, it's got its own atlas tree. I think this is going to be a big moneymaker this season if you are someone that enjoys doing it. You see they've added some new effects and everything. I think they've just kind of tried to refine the gameplay rather than being as slow. You may be able to build your boards a bit faster now. But I'm interested to see what all these nodes do and see what we can get. Because I did like the frozen canvas. I didn't like doing it every single 3 maps by the end of last season, but I look forward to at least trying it out this season. Next, we have updates to beacon drops. We have things like cube getting buffed, at least the gambling side of cube, the withdrawing part of the cube tree, which is good because a lot of people were just using cube for the legendary monsters last season to get the slates. So adding more into the gambling side is really cool, especially since the loot from that is really quite bad. So I hope they also buff the loot and not just the number of things you pull out, because 200 pieces of trash is not much better than 10 pieces of trash. Now we have Goddess of Hunting, which is going to get more boss-specific stuff, which is very, very nice. And then we move on to things like combat effects. They're going to make it more obvious when this guy's about to send you to the Shadow Realm. Yeah, this guy's still going to kill me, I'm sure, 400 times this season. But I am going to see it coming. So now I can't blame the game, hopefully. Hopefully they did a good enough job at making this visual that I only have myself to blame. High value drops. We have a reliquary key, essentially, where you will get 1 chest of legends will be generated for each sprout of legends. So you put in your sprout of legends, you go in, you open 5 chests, and you get a legendary piece of gear. And this has a higher chance to be good legendary gear. So very cool. If you're someone that likes to gamble, open these. If you're someone that doesn't like to gamble, more stuff for you to sell to get more FEs. Lovely. Endgame content, we have, of course, the Supreme Showdown, which I'm not going to discuss in its entirety because I was quite against this system. Not the idea of getting pets, but just the way it was handled. But hopefully they've made it more accessible because I would just like to see more people get their hands on one of those pack spirits. I think it's just good for people to have access to them. But this season, they have removed Pirate from being level 20, which I think is good because that guy had some bullshit. And they've replaced him with Event Keegan. So if you've ever done kind of the Keegan event, whenever it's been on, you're fighting Keegan and the doggy at the same time. Not as bad as the Pirate guy by any means. Still definitely a challenge, but not as bad as the Pirate. So Cool. And then we have the final encounter. There's a level 21 now. What you're going to get from this is obviously the prestige of saying you've done it. DPS recommended. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Who knows? But you're going to get a cool border, some tax vouchers, some primacrysts, and you're going to have to fight this. And it looks like an... What is going on here, dude? There's so much going on. There's tornadoes. This guy's exploded. Big circle. I don't know what's going on, dude. Waterfalls coming down. Hey, you're going to need an insane build. Is this guy hitting for 1.5 Q? This guy's hitting for 1.5 Q every hit. HP not moving. Yeah, this is gonna be what people, and it's cool that it's not required to get the pet, right? Level 21. This is gonna be cool because it's just about the prestige of doing it, which I like. Quality of life improvements. Pet packed plans. Look at that. I can speak, are now shared across your future characters within a season, so you don't have to make them every single time, which is lovely. There is a flame sand conversion, which allows you to convert 300 sand to 1 FE. You'll know last season if you were deleting your flame sand by the end of it. So nice to get conversion. Also, they made the path of progression nicer. Basically, you'll get progression towards the later stages of the path of progression early on. So you could potentially level up a lot at once if you do the future ones, but maybe you get stuck on an earlier one. Also, they've put on this, I don't know if we can see it here, but they've identified where you get each of the bonuses from on the kind of drop-down menu. Here, you can see, right, Hero Memories Phase 2, 4%. This is really nice. This is the kind of thing that I saw a few of in the reveal, and I really like. Just little things like this just make the game so much more palatable, right? And I like that they've done that. Then we have some updates to the trade house, making it easier to navigate. You have your previous searches, so you can just click on these and go grab whatever commodities you need. Very, very nice change. You have the ability to filter by both max price and total price, which again, very, very cool. Just more cool things. We love that. We love that. Events and monetization. We got here. Top up bonus. People love that. Log in, get yourself a legendary battle pact. Log in, get you some crystals to pull from more battle pacts. You've got a 100% chance to get the new pets, Bright of the Silent Veil, which is a new battle pact. You have a 100% chance to get this if you pull a legendary on this particular boon. Yep. Cool. New cosmetics. We have some iris stuff. A new dragon, a cool little portal here. This portal has like a timer on it. Don't know if it's like counting how long you've been in the map. New beams and Rayhana. Gender bending Rayhan. There you go. So that's what I'm going to be playing this season. Train gender bending Rayhan, or as I like to call her, Rayhana. I hope you enjoyed me waffling away about Torchlight. If you're someone that has not played Torchlight and somehow you made it to the end of this video, maybe you just like listening to me that much, definitely give it a try in this new season. If you've been enjoying PoE 2 and that's how you find yourself on this video, maybe you subscribed for me for PoE 2 and you thought, ooh, what's this guy talking about here? Anyway, I appreciate you all, and I will see you in 4 days for the Arcana launch. Bye-bye.